All right, I think I figured it out. I am using something different today. My husband uses Wirecast for all of his shows, so he got me all set up for this because Zoom is still not figured out on this computer, but I wanted to do it from here because it has the nice microphone and all of that. And I'm not mirrored for some reason in this, so I look really weird to myself. But all right, so hopefully you can all hear me. It looks like you should be able to. He showed me what to look for, and I do not know my way around this program, but I think everything looks good. So I'm going to pull it up on my phone because I can't look at the live chat on this one. So I'm going to look here. Just give me a second. And I really don't know. Okay. All right, it looks like I'm live. Okay, awesome, Michelle. So good to see you. And I do look very, like, I don't know what's the lighting. It's my highlighter. It looks really weird. This is all from the highlighter I put on today. I did not put much makeup on, but I look very, let me try a different light here. I think it's the lighting. Okay, let's see if that helps. The lighting is making me look very weird. Here we go. Just trying to figure this out. It's a different thing from Zoom. Okay. I think that looks better. Let me see. I'm just waiting to see if that looks better or if I should try that light. Ooh, that's a little cooler. That probably is the one I need. I look orangey or something with this light. So yes, I look very sun-kissed. I was out in the sun yesterday. We walked 2 miles. One of my friends, Nicole, and I, we went down to the scooters down the road, and it was a lot further than we thought. So by the time it was all said and done, I was out soul winning for an hour, and then we also walked down there and back. It was over 2 miles, so it was far. We did not realize it was that far. Okay, hopefully that lighting is a little bit better. Okay, so let's get into our topic today now that we got all that stuff out of the way and I'm learning a new program here. But this month's topic, I decided to do March management or March maintenance. Basically, how does your home run? And I've had ladies asking if I can do this. They have asked for some type of, I have found that one of the more popular, I have a couple popular subjects on this channel. Number one would be marriage. I have a lot of women requesting marriage things. I also have a lot of women requesting home management type things, and that along that I would put homeschooling your kids under it. I would put like budgeting, meal planning, and cleaning. I would put that all kind of under the home management aspect of it. So I decided this month, since it started with M, I thought it would be cute doing March management and how does your home run, basically. So I'm going to have a guest on next week. We'll take a short break. I'm going to have a guest on next week to refer back to February relationships because I wanted to have her in February. We just never got around to it, life in New Orleans and all this. And she was just, she just came back from a long weekend trip and she's exhausted today. So I want her to be well rested. So next week I'm going to have her on, and that topic will be unnecessary burdens in marriage, and just kind of how different religious upbringings and misconceptions brought on by religions, unnecessary burdens that they place on you that are not even there biblically. So we're going to be talking about that. She is from a Mennonite background, so we'll be discussing that with her, and I think it would be a good one. But yeah, she just had an exhausting weekend, so I wanted her to recover from that. But I'm going to talk about the basics of home management today. And over the next few weeks, I hope to cover cleaning and maintaining the home, homeschooling, meal schedules, and frugal ways to cook, budgeting, and teaching your kids to help out around the house. So I do want to talk about those. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart because we are the heart of the home. Us moms are the heart of the home. We create the environment in the home. We teach in the home. We train in the home. We instruct in the home. I truly believe the success to raising good kids is having a happy home. Hands down, if someone asked me What is the success of raising good kids? I would say you have to have a happy home. And for me, having a happy home means that I run a tidy, productive home. So this is very important to me. I also have a type A personality, and I like the way one of my friends, Karen Rodriguez, had put it one time. She likened running your home to almost liking running a business. And she talked about the importance of, just delegating tasks and running it efficiently. And I really like that idea. I think because I am a type A personality, um, that holds true for me. So, but I also like to remember that we are raising the next generation of moms and wives, and it's our job to instruct them in the ways of keeping a home. So, why is this so important? You might think this isn't a big deal. I don't really need this episode, and that's fine. You're not going to need every episode, but I do think that this idea of managing the home and managing it well is a very important thing, especially for being a stay-at-home mom. We are stay-at-home moms. That's our passion. That's where a lot of us find our joy. We're raising children. And, my goal with this channel is to encourage you and to, just tell you to keep on going and keep doing better and keep doing more. So, obviously, this is important because the Bible tells us to guide the home. And many of the verses that talk about, we know this verse quite well in First Timothy, and I'm just going to look it up so I can quote it correctly. First Timothy 5:14. We all know this verse very well, and that is, I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. And I think a lot of us use that verse as a way of guiding our life, of helping us get through life, and all of that good stuff. So, our husbands also depend on us to run the home well. And this is one of those things I hear a lot of women have, and I totally agree. So, I want to be an encouragement and telling you there's going to be bad days. You just keep the kids alive, and that's what matters the most. But I also want to encourage you to become better at what you're doing, to become better at being a stay-at-home mom. And, if we're going to get the privilege, and it is a privilege, if we're going to have the privilege of staying home, let's do it well. Let's guide the house well. That is like our kingdom. That's our castle, right? And so let's guide it well. Our husbands depend on us to run the home well. They're not called to do that. They're called to be the providers. And I hear this mentality a lot among maybe not so much Christian homes. I think most Christians, they understand what being a stay-at-home mom means, and they realize it's a calling and it's a privilege. But there is just this anything goes, don't even try, the house is always a mess, who cares mentality. And I don't necessarily agree with that because I do believe it is a privilege to be a stay-at-home mom. And our husbands don't get to wake up in the morning and be like, you know what, I don't feel like going to work today, so I'm just gonna stay at home. They don't get to just miss work whenever they feel like it. So even if we don't feel like running the home or managing the home or cooking the meals or cleaning or doing the laundry, we kind of just sometimes need to make ourselves do it. And Gen Z is a generation that does not like being made to do anything. And unfortunately, that's true. You have to train your kids to be different than the mentality in the world today. So our husbands work hard, so let's work hard as well. One of the reasons too that I really think that this is important is because hospitality is really big to me. And when I had younger kids, we didn't have the room. We didn't have the space, so we weren't able to make this happen quite so often. Occasionally, we would have siblings stay with us. Occasionally, I would have a friend stay with us. But we weren't able to make it happen like we are now. Because in our home, as our kids are growing, we've only had one leave the nest. But our second son is getting ready to buy a house. And so he'll be moving out probably within the next year or two. And so as our kids start moving out, we're getting more and more rooms. and we're having more and more space. And then we also added on the room that my husband and I are in. It's almost like a suite where I teach piano, and it has its own bathroom and everything. So a lot of times we'll offer that to guests as well. But we, over the last year or so, have had friends from Ireland stay with us for a week or two. We've had friends from out of town. We've had friends from Canada. We've had my mom from Arkansas. They've all been able to stay, and that's really important to me. I like being able to offer my home. And one of the reasons that we're able to is because it's kind of a well-oiled machine right now. And obviously that's due in part a lot to my older girls, because I have a lot on my plate that I do. And without my older girls' help, I would not be able to. But because from the time that they were young, I was teaching and training them how to run a home and how to clean a home and how to do all these things, they do it effortlessly now. And it's a well-run, oiled machine. Even if we have the babies going around messing everything up, it's still always, for the most part, in a state where we can have someone over. Just, wash the sheets real quick, wash their towels, and we have a room available for them where they can stay. And I'm not totally embarrassed by the rest of my house or the state of my home, where everything's so filthy that I would feel awful having people over. So hospitality is really big to me. And I am so happy that I'm now able to do more of that. And if you look too at the requirements of a bishop, one of them is given hospitality. And so that should be something that's in the back of our mind. We want to be able to have people over. And so for me, keeping a well-run home makes that possible. It definitely makes it possible. So cleanliness and order bring about peace. And I will always believe that when the house is a mess, I'm stressed out, the kids are stressed out. When everything is clean and peaceful and it smells good and it's not trashed and there's not dirt everywhere, the kids act better. They just do. And I've seen the shifts that have happened from the times when it's messy until the times when it's clean. So cleanliness and order bring about peace. And then also structure brings about peace. And this is just part of managing your home, managing your kids' bedtimes, managing school time, managing meal times, managing homeschooling, managing your budget well, managing meals well, managing the cleaning of your home. All that brings about structure, which kids desperately, desperately need. As moms who, sorry, I feel something in my lip. As moms who are involved in church, we know what are the hardest days of the week. For me, being in ministry, the hardest days of the week are Mondays and Thursdays. And it's because on Sunday and Wednesday, the structure is completely thrown off. Sunday, we're here the whole day. They're not getting naps. It's just very overwhelming. We went back to our normal schedule yesterday on Sunday, and I feel like all the babies were losing their minds. When I say babies, I mean like 4-year-olds and down. They were all like just losing their minds. They were all fighting with each other, and yeah, it was crazy. So I'm hoping by next week we'll have settled back to the normal long day schedule. But Mondays are always tough, and my kids recognize that, I recognize that. And then Thursdays are always tough because they're up a lot later than normal. My babies, I like to get in bed between 7 and 8. My babies are my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old. I know they're not really babies anymore, but they'll always be my babies probably. So we call them the babies. I have my adult kids, then I have my teenagers, and then I have little Lana's all by herself as the middle schooler, and then I have my babies. So they're always tough because their schedules are completely thrown off. So during the week, I try to keep their schedules pretty consistent as far as bedtimes and meal times and kind of what we do throughout the day. So what are some of the basics of this home management? Well, number one, I think one of the biggest basics is keep a clean home. This is very, very important to me. I don't totally agree with the phrase cleanliness is next to godliness, but I'm very big on cleanliness, on hygiene, and keeping my home clean. I think it just makes you feel like an overall happier person when you have those things in your life. So I would recommend to get rid of clutter. More and more, the older I get, the harder time I have taking in extra stuff. whether that's extra bags or extra items or even extra, even if it's free, if someone's given it to me, I have a hard time because I'm always trying to pare down on the clutter. And you would think I was a hypocrite by what I'm saying right now if you went and saw my basement right now. But I want to say my basement is driving me insane because we need to go through it. We need to purge it. Things have a way of piling up. Our basement is kind of the place that we put everything we don't want upstairs, like when we're decluttering and cleaning. And we had it cleaned not too long ago, but it's built up again. So I'm hoping we can rent a dumpster this spring and just purge it again, and then only keep shelves of the very basic necessities down there, like Christmas decorations, suitcases, and just a little bit of food storage that we have. That's all I want down there. I'm going to try to pare down their clothes because clothes are cheap, and I want to keep only the clothes that they're in their drawers. I'm big on not saving clothes if you're not going to need it. Mice will get down there anyways. Bugs, you never know what can get in there. So I just try to be very minimalistic when it comes to that. I don't think I really have, unless it's things like things that are very expensive, like custom-made clothing. That would be for my girls. That would be culottes or custom-made athletic skirts from like Modley or my friend Sarah. She does custom order skirts and different things like that. So those are a precious commodity around my house. So we do recycle those down through, and then boutique dresses that I've bought. One of my friends, April Lumen, she sells boutique dresses, and occasionally I will, for a treat, for a birthday or Christmas, get the girls a boutique dress. One of the ones that I did for Christmas for them had roosters all over it, and I thought that was super cute. So things like that I will pass down, but it's very select few things. So just remember that everything has a place, and there's a place for everything. And if you can't find a place for it, just toss it. I know we're going more and more minimalistic. This is kind of like a millennial and a Gen Z thing. I'm like right on the borderline for being a millennial. And I was born like a couple months right before millennial years started. So I know that this is kind of a newer thing, like the boomer generation or those that had gone through the depression. They tend to stockpile and they tend to hold on to things just in case I ever need it, right? Well, I think in our mind, things are so readily available to get nowadays that we would rather just order it if we need it rather than hang on to it for 5 years and never use it. That's my mindset, at least, because clutter just really drives me crazy. Hey, Canders. That's an interesting name. I just saw you on my husband's live stream earlier. I wasn't able to watch his whole live stream on his prophecy channel, but I saw that name. Excuse me. My voice always gets something as I'm doing it. But yeah, a clean home is a functioning home. It's really, really hard to be very highly functional when you're constantly looking for things. The house is constantly trashed. It's dirty. You don't have a good routine going for cleaning. It just lends to the sense of chaos, and it's just not good. So a clean home is a functioning home. One of the basics to managing your home is managing your time well. And for me, I am such a busy woman and I have such a full plate. Time is very, very precious to me. And because I have such a full plate, sometimes I only have a limited amount of time to get things done. Like today, I finally tackled a chore that had needed to be done in 2 weeks. And sometimes it'll go 2 or 3 weeks before it's done because I'm literally busy every minute of every day and I just cannot get to it. And that was, I had to deep clean my room, vacuum it, and scrub my bathroom. Now, our bathroom doesn't get too bad because it's just my husband and I that use it for the most part, but it was driving me crazy. So I didn't teach, I only taught 2 hours. Monday is a very light day for teaching. So I only taught 2 hours a day, so I had till noon. So I knew I had to manage my time well with getting the kids started in school, feeding the babies. Chloe did a Walmart grocery pickup order, and that's another thing when you have driving teenagers, it helps out so much because I was able to do my pickup order last night for groceries, and then Chloe ran and got it while I was not teaching. So you figure out ways to manage your time that way, where when can I get this done? Okay, well, she's going to need to watch the babies when I'm teaching, so I need to get this, and this done before I even start teaching. And so I was able to deep clean my room, get everything hung up. The infamous chair that all the laundry covers is finally clean for the first time in 2 weeks. And I knew I had to be serious and focused, and I knew I had to stay off my phone. So when it comes time to just really get down and get serious, because I only have a certain amount of time, I have to just put the phone up, turn the notifications off, ignore it, whatever. If you text me during those times, I'm truly not ignoring you. It's just life, and I'm busy, and I have priorities. So you can do a lot with a short amount of time. So if you're on your phone scrolling Facebook, if you're watching reels, you can either do that or you can clean an entire room in that time. Now, I like to have the phone playing in the background for podcasts. So oftentimes, every morning when I'm getting ready, I listen to true crime or interrogations. I'm a white mom. What can I say? I like listening to those. So I'll have that playing in the background. Very rarely a sermon. I get enough meat from my husband every week. I don't feel the need to supplement that. So I don't normally listen to sermons at all. That's something that I don't really do. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. But I feel as if I get enough meat from my husband. So I like to have that playing in the background. But get off your phone. Keep lists if it helps. Now, I am not a list maker. Pretty much all my lists are here in my head. I wake up knowing I have to get this, and this accomplished. I have to, yesterday I had a couple things hanging over my head, like the Walmart grocery pickup order. I knew I needed to get that done. I knew I needed to write the outline for my guest I'm having on. So I got those things done, and then it was like a fog was lifted, right? I had those things done. So if it works for you, putting it on paper, by all means, put it on paper. Keep yourself accountable. It's so fun too. I've heard, I don't do it very often, but I've heard it's so fun to go through and check things off. But it feels good for me. It's a load off of my shoulders when I just keep those lists in my head and I'm able to go through and mark that off. So just remember that time is money, and this is my philosophy. It is. Time is such a precious commodity in the McMurtry household that I have to manage my time very well. I cannot be on my phone all hours of the day. I cannot be even Gently Led Sisters is kind of taking a back seat this year. I can't be creating content all the time. It's not in my list of priorities right now. I love all of you, and I love the group that we have on Facebook. If you want to, go join that if you have Facebook. Because a lot of good questions get asked in there, and there's a lot of good discussion. It has a really good spirit in there. I've always tried to keep the spirit very good. I don't like tearing each other down or being nasty or mean. So I've tried to keep the spirit very light in that group. I love it, but creating content is not my main goal right now. Because time is money, I want to focus more on running my home, teaching my piano lessons that I'm actually getting paid for, and also raising my kids. So it's super important for me. But you can do, okay, so yeah, I already went over that. But yeah, just remember that time is very, very precious, and it doesn't matter if you don't have a side job. Your time is still precious. Like I said, you can get a whole room cleaned in the time that you are watching reels or whatever. And I realize I'm on a social media platform. Don't sit down and watch me. Have me playing while you're doing stuff. If you have a sick day and you want to have a marathon of Gently Led Sisters, which I wouldn't personally recommend that. That would drive me crazy. But okay, if that's your thing, go ahead and do it. But you could be doing other things while stuff is playing. I'm not a TV watcher. In fact, my kids are always shocked when I'll actually sit down and watch an entire movie with them. But I like to have things playing in the background as I'm doing tasks. And so if you have a favorite podcast, you could have that playing. If you like listening to sermons and that's your thing, do it. Like I said, I'm a true crime girl. I like listening to true crime or police interrogations, so I'll have that kind of playing. But cooking at home, this is another basic of home management. Cooking at home saves money big time. Eating out should be a treat, not the norm. And when we went on the New Orleans trip, I saw how true this was because even eating at McDonald's, using my app, getting free stuff, getting points, it was like $40 for our family to eat. And that was ridiculous because the food was disgusting. And you don't even get full. You don't get full at all. And my plate of food that I make every day for lunch, which I know I've shown a lot of you, and those of you that follow me on Facebook see it because I post about it often. I literally crave that every day of my life. And there is so much. It's a plate and it's full. I'm a volume eater, but it's all real foods. And it's so much of it, and it's less than 500 calories. And that fills me up for hours. If I eat a box of chicken nuggets from McDonald's, I'm literally hungry. It doesn't even fill me. Like, I'm hungry within the hour. So to me, it's such a waste. I would rather just, and you can do healthy eating on, a budget. We're on a budget. My budget's probably a little bit more than yours because we have a bigger family. We have about 300 budgeted, which is not very much for food. 300 a week budgeted, but I use that money wisely, and I don't use it on crud. I don't use it on just frozen pizzas and, even frozen healthy food. No, I buy tons of fruits and vegetables because they're so low calorie and they're so good for you. And that's what I crave all the time now is fruits and vegetables. So I'll make a huge plate where the only processed food is I get the Never Any chicken sausages from Aldi. And it still has good stuff in it, but that's the only like processed food that I get. And so you can even eat cheaply but have a good diet as well. And that's a lot of all those whole foods. And I'm just to a point where, because I've been eating so healthy since July, my body doesn't even crave all the junk. I have a hard time. We had to stop at McDonald's once, and I had a really hard time with it. We had to eat at Wendy's once, and that's even cheaper than McDonald's because they have the biggie bags. But it wasn't filling at all. I felt like I was eating junk, and then it wasn't even filling. So learn to cook if you don't know how. There are so many YouTube videos. There are so many instructional things on Facebook. You can definitely learn if you know how to cook. If you don't know how, you can learn. Ask for guidance from older women. I'm sure an older woman would take you under her wing and share all of her tips and share all her guidance, give you guidance when it comes to cooking, give you tips, etc. And then take advantage of our slaves. Okay, that sounds terrible. But no, we don't have, most of us don't have maids, and we don't have slaves, obviously. But I think of my crock pots and all the things that make life easier, my Instant Pot, even my egg thing, that you put the eggs in and it boils them for you. I think of all those as my maids, my maid servants, because they do the work that a maid of old would have done. Okay, so take advantage of those crock pot meals. I know they get made fun of a lot, but they're a lifesaver a lot of times. Instant Pot, lifesaver. It really helps. So realize when you have younger kids, you're in a different season. All right, and this is a theme that I often say on this show. We're all in different seasons. When I was younger, I did a lot more of the cooking from scratch as far as like homemade bread. I remember even like our snacks, homemade cookies. I would make these homemade cookie sandwiches that you would like make the cookies and then put the ice cream on and then freeze it. I would do all my homemade stuff. Because I'm in a better financial situation now than when we were younger and first married, I'm able to buy more of those convenience foods. I'm able to buy Zico bread. I'm able to buy sourdough bread. I don't have to exactly make everything from scratch. Now, if that's your forte, by all means, go for it. But remember that my season is not going to be your season. I'm able to do things in my season that you're not going to be able to do. You might need to do things in your season that I don't have to do. So just remember that we're all different. Embrace your strengths when it comes to managing your home. So what do I mean when I talk about this? Well, Julia and I were just talking about this the other day. If you're a night owl, don't feel guilty for being a night owl. Be a night owl. I think night owls get such a bad rap. Like it's like there's this like perfect image of the stay-at-home mom where she has to get up at the crack of dawn and she makes her husband breakfast every day and she makes him coffee and rubs his feet and it's only 4:30 in the morning. Isn't she amazing? That's not me. It's never been me, and my husband would think I lost my mind if I started doing that. And first of all, he doesn't eat breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. Neither one of us eat breakfast. So that would be totally pointless for me to get up and make him a big meal because he probably wouldn't even want it. He doesn't drink coffee. I do drink coffee, but a couple hours after he's left. And I'm just more productive at night. I am a night owl. That's when I oftentimes write, is at night. My mind is sharper at night. I am not a morning person. And it was so funny because all the ladies that went to the Pastor's Wife Retreat last year in Florida, they soon found that out about me. Because I would just they'd be like, oh, good morning, Cassandra. Like Wilma first, she's so chipper, and she'd be like, good morning, Cassandra. Like basically singing like a princess. And I am literally, I don't know if you've seen Frozen when Anna wakes up. That's what I look like. Like I would just come out, my hair would be everywhere, my glasses, and I'd be like, hello. I'm not functional until I've had my coffee. That's just me. And I don't apologize for it. That's who I am. That's my personality. And there's nothing sinful with that. So I'm going to embrace the fact that I'm very productive at night. And I get a lot done at night. In fact, I think Heather Major and I one night stayed up till like 3 a.m. talking because that's like that's when I'm sharp. That's when my mind is on. Don't talk to me or have a deep conversation at 6:30 a.m. though. I'm not going to be very aware of things. So it's okay if you're a night owl, and it's okay if that's when you're most productive. Now, just go by what your husband wants though. Some husbands like their wives going to bed with them. Some don't mind if they're there while they fall asleep, but then they work until the wee hours of the morning. There's times when I am exhausted at 9, so I'm in bed early. But then there's other times I'm wide awake at 11, so I need to do things. When the kids were little, my peak cleaning times were after bed. So normally our schedule would be we put them to bed at 7, we might watch a movie or something. By 9, my husband was out, and I would go and I would clean until midnight. That's when I got the most done. That's when I would deep clean the bathrooms. I had no distractions. I didn't have little kids crying. I didn't have to break up fights. I didn't have to, just clean up messes that they made as I was doing it. So for me, that worked great. And that's how I've lived my whole life. And I've kept a clean house. I've kept a running house, and it's worked for me. Now, it would not have worked for me to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. It would take me a full hour before I would even be productive. And then by the time I started being productive, the kids would hear things going on and they would wake up. They're way lighter sleepers. That's not the correct grammar, but whatever. In the morning than they are at night. So once I put them to bed at 7, they don't wake up. So, but they will wake up at 5 if they hear me banging around in the kitchen. So don't apologize for however you get things done. Just get it done. Work out a functioning schedule. So have a loose schedule. So one of the things that I really believe helps the most with little kids is bedtimes and a sleep schedule. And I know Holly Robinson on before to talk about sleep schedules and how important that is. Get your kids on a sleep schedule. I think that eliminates about 70% of chaos if you're not constantly up in the middle of the night with them. Right now we're in the throes of something with Hannah. I don't know if it's a growth spurt. I don't know what it is, but she's once again waking up at 1:30, waking up at 3:30, and screaming like a banshee. But figure it out. So I need to get that figured out. I try to nip it in the bud because I can't go on. My life is too busy and I need sleep. So our functioning schedule, though, we have a very loose one, but it works for us. It's not written down. It's not something that's set in stone, but it works for us. That's just how we run our home. And we do have a slight schedule, even if it's not officially written down. We do have a loose schedule. So basically our schedule is the babies are in bed between 7 and 8. The older kids, around 10, I'll start saying it's time to wind it down. It's time to go to bed. I wouldn't say they have a set bedtime, though. That varies all the time. Sometimes they're tired and they go to bed at 9. They're teenagers. I'm not going to be super picky about that. My husband and I are usually in bed by 9 or 10. oftentimes after we put the babies to bed, we're in our room and the kids, the older kids, are on their own. So we don't regulate that too much. They have downtime, we have downtime. It is what it is. And so usually I'll text that one of the older girls, it's time to go to bed now. They'll go to bed. They put themselves to bed. It's nice. It's a nice season. But then I normally try to get up by 6:30 or 7. My husband's usually up 5:30 or 6. He's gone before I even wake up. I try to wake up by then. I have my coffee. Oftentimes I'll read my Bible in the morning. Sometimes I do better reading my Bible at night, at 9 when I'm in bed. My mind is sharper at night. So oftentimes I do my Bible reading at night. And then I drink my coffee. I snuggle with the babies. That's important for them. They like that snuggle time with mom in the morning. And then all the girls are up by 8-ish. They do the chicken chores. They get dressed. And then by 9, when I start teaching, everyone's doing school. And then who's ever in charge of the babies is watching the babies during that time. And then they do school until about 1 or 2. I'm done teaching usually by 1, 3. It varies, and a lot of times I have cancellations, so it just depends on, every week someone cancels. Just depends on how my schedule is for that week. But I am finished every day by 3, no later than 3, because I want to be done by the time my husband gets home, and he usually gets home around 4. And then, we do supper between 4 and 6, and then a lot of times we'll go work out. The other kids will go work out. We have a family membership. So, and then it's just chill time in the evening and then repeat. So that's kind of a schedule. But the girls know they will be doing school every day. They're starting by 9. That's just not a non-negotiable. So if you train your kids when they're young, they're going to be a huge help when they're older. So train your boys to be hard workers, because this is so important. And thankfully, both of my boys are super hardworking boys. They have careers lined up. They are working towards that, and I'm very proud of the working men that they have become. But then train your girls to be hard workers as well, whether that comes to whatever they do. Train them to do everything with all their might. So if that's working as a stay-at-home wife and mom, train them to do it efficiently. If that's working at a daycare until they get to that point, train them to do it with, the best of their ability. Give responsibilities and chores and let them loose doing them. I don't micromanage them. I kind of expect my kids to know, whether it's cleaning the litter box or doing the chicken chores or bringing the garbage cans in or taking the garbage out or sweeping or mopping or cleaning the bathroom. Because I've started teaching them when they were young, they're pros at it now. So, but then do allow for downtime. I think this is really important. I don't think you need to run your home like the army, where it's just constantly do this and do that and never rest, and no, because we need downtime and they need downtime as well. So budgeting money, this is another basic. Budgeting money. Be a blessing in your marriage, not a hindrance. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her. And I think a lot of that has to do with finances. Does your husband pay off the credit card and then the next week you're running it up on frivolous things, clothes, furniture, whatever? Are you running it up after he's paid it off? Be careful about that. Ask for a budget. So have expectations and guidelines in place when it comes to grocery money. If it's a reoccurring fight, something needs to be done about it. If your husband's better at running it, let him run it. We've gone back and forth. Sometimes my husband does the budget, sometimes I do. Right now he does. And it helps me tremendously, because I would get really stressed out if things were really tight or we had a big bill coming up. It would stress me out to the point where I was having like stomach problems and all these things. So he finally just took it over, and it's been a lot better since then. But we've gone back and forth. Sometimes he would rather have me do it. Sometimes I would rather have him do it. If your finances are in order, it will also bring a calm and a peace. If you have a common goal, what are you working towards? Do you have debt? Are you trying to pay it off? Keep figures. What we used to do is we would write down at the beginning of the week, we had all our debt consolidated. So we knew what our credit card debt was. We knew what our Loan payment for our car was, and that was about all the debt we had. Sometimes we had other debts like medical debt. Well, we would keep a running total. So we would have it written on the calendar, and then the next week we would pay off a little bit each week, and then the next week that would go down. And it's kind of fun when I've found some of my old calendars. It's really fun to see that debt going down every single week. It's really neat to see. And we eventually got down to zero before we bought our house. We eventually got down to zero after a while. The credit card debt was gone. The medical bills were gone. We didn't have a van payment. We didn't have a house yet. Well, now the only debt we have is a van payment and the rest of our house payment. But we'll have that paid off in about 12 years, our house. So, and it's kind of neat on that because that's with our bank in here in town, and we can see that it has a loan amount on there for how much we owe, and it's going down all the time, which is really fun to see too. But yeah, I would recommend budgeting everything. I would recommend budgeting grocery money, so you know how much you have for that. Fun money, whether that's date night or going out to eat. My husband has done a whole thing on budgeting for this channel, I believe, and it's very helpful if you want to search for that on my channel. If you have no idea where to start, you have no idea how to do this, I think it's imperative that every home has a working budget and that you stay within those limits of that budget. So homeschooling. This is another basic for a lot of the women that watch my channel. This is obviously not going to be for everyone, but a lot of stay-at-home moms that watch my channel, this is very important. This is one of the basics of running their home. So just remember that homeschooling takes priority. For us, it's a big priority. I want my children to read well. I want my children to have a very good concept of basic math, and that's very, very important to me. So I'm going to be very, like, school is a non-negotiable. They're going to do school. My kids are going to do school. So they know that, and it's one thing that is a high priority in my life. You know, find a curriculum based off of your style. So what do I mean when I say this? Well, there are different styles. There's eclectic, which is not me when it comes to school. There's traditional. There's more of eclectic. I would say that that's more like Charlotte Mason, maybe even Robinson to some extent, because there's only 3 things that you really do, the math part, the reading part, and the, what is it, like English, 3 R's. And then everything else you get through reading, like all your science, all your history, you get through reading historical books. They have a whole book list and all of that. I would consider that more eclectic. I don't know. And then there's unlearning, which I would not recommend. I feel like that's a very lazy way of homeschooling. A lot of people swear by it, but I am a more structured person, so I need more of the traditional approach. So for me, I want traditional. I want traditional books. I want to kind of see how they're progressing, and tests and things kind of help me see if they're getting it or they're not getting it. You know, so find a curriculum based off of your style, but please do something. Please make sure your kids are reading. Please make sure they're learning math. Please make sure that they're learning history and not just conspiracy theories, like actual history. Please make sure that, you know, if you want them to learn a different language, have them learn a different language. You know, provide them with the skills that they're going to need to be a functioning member of society. Homeschooling has worked tremendously for us. My boys, my girls. Jason is doing electrician school right now, and he's doing very well with it. He was bragging to us last week because he got some 100s, and you know, he hasn't failed anything yet. But all of my boys did very well in college for the courses that they've taken. They've both gotten to career diplomas. Jason's actually doing some sort of trade school now for being an electrician. Tommy did a year of Bible college, and they all did fine. They all did great, and they just did ACE. So it's not the curriculum per se that's going to produce smart kids or, you know, hardworking kids. It's the character of the parents and what they expect from their children. You can make ACE work. You can make Robinson work. You can make Abeka work. You can make Bob Jones work. Out of all of the elite curriculums, I really do like Abeka. I don't like Bob Jones. I did Bob Jones through high school, and I think Abeka's better. Abeka and Bob Jones are both accelerated education. ACE, I would say, is about average, but ACE is what we've done for my older kids once they're at least in 7th grade and up, and it's been great. They've not struggled in any future schooling. They've not struggled at all. It's worked fine for us. So plan ahead, and it will save you a lot of headaches later when it comes to having a curriculum, having a schedule, having all the materials needed when you start school. You know, stock up on pencils and sharpeners and pens and all of the things before you start, because it's so frustrating in the morning when they don't have a pencil or they don't have a sharpener or they don't have an eraser. Oh my word. And we've gone through that, and I get very frustrated because I know I've bought it for them. So if they lose it or they don't put it back in their desk, they have very nice desks that have lift up lids where you can just store it in there. I get very frustrated by that. So have rewards in place to motivate the reluctant learner. I have found when it comes to school that positive reinforcement is better than negative. There have been times when we've had to have some chats and taken action, but I found that positive reinforcements, you know, once you're done with school today, you can play outside for 2 hours. Once we're done with school, we'll go to the park. You know, instead of, if you don't get your school done, you're going to get spanked. You know, it's a lot of times positive reinforcement helps. So sectioning off blocks of time. Okay, from 12 to 1, we're going to work on math. Do you think you can get done with it in that? If you do, I'll let you have 5 minutes to run around the yard or do whatever. You know, okay, from 2 to 3, we're going to read a book. And if you do really well and there's no distractions, when we're done with the book, you can watch an episode of Bluey. You know, just positive things where it's a reward system versus you're going to be punished if you don't listen to me. Tears, anguish, sorrow, chaos. You want to try to keep it from becoming that. Does it sometimes become that? Sometimes. But overall, you want the theme to be, all right, when you're done with school, we put up our books and we're done. That's the beauty about homeschooling. It's not like this long, drawn out thing. So my kids, they would rather just sit and get it done because they know they have to do it. They know there's not getting up until they're done. So they would rather sit down, get it done, and then be free from 2 o'clock on or 1 o'clock on. They love test days. A lot of times their tests will fall on the same day. So like out of all 5 subjects, their test day will fall on the same day, and they're literally done by 11, because tests don't take very long to do. So they love it when they have test days because then they're done, but then they're done. That's a nice thing about homeschooling. You don't have homework afterwards, you know. So there are different things, and I'll go more into depth later in the month as we talk about those. Meals are another basic thing when it comes to running your home. You can figure out cheap filling meals. You can do diets cheaply. You don't need the extra food. So what do I mean when I say extra food? Well, this is one of the things for me that this is considered extra. So I do use this. I do buy a lot of this stuff with my money that I earn on the side, and that would be protein chips, protein bars, protein shakes. You can make a really mean iced coffee out of a protein shake, and it tastes really good. So these are the things that I consider splurges, and I will use my extra money. Now, if I did not have that extra money, I would just be fine without it. Cottage cheese has a ton of protein in it. Eggs have a ton of protein in it. There's yogurts that have a ton of protein in it. So you can do a good meal cheaply. And a lot of that is whole foods, you know, vegetables, fruits, different things like that. You can fill up on those, and you don't need all of the special ingredients. Even if you're doing Term Healthy Mama, there's a lot of special ingredients that you can buy for that. You can make your own THM blend with almond flour, flaxseed, and coconut flour. You can make your own. Oat fiber. There's a lot of things that use oat fiber. If you have the basics, you can do Trim Healthy Mama too. You don't need all the extra collagen or, you know, any of that stuff. You can do it. So have a basic schedule. So for us, our basic schedule is breakfast is pretty much a free-for-all. What do I mean by free fall? I mean instant oatmeal, bananas, toast. The girls, Ali and Lana, both know how to make eggs. They'll make themselves eggs in the morning. Lunch is pretty much sandwiches, very basic food. But I do try to do a good supper for everyone. So I will make it, or Abby will make it, depending on our schedules. We'll make it. A lot of times, if I know that I have meat that needs to be browned, I will actually brown my meat in the crock pot. I don't ever brown my meat on the stovetop anymore. And for some of you, that might sound gross, but it's amazing. You stick a roll of frozen meat in the crock pot and you just slowly break it up as it's cooking, and you drain off the fat at the end, and it's ground beef. It's ready to go. And you didn't have to stand over a frying pan and get splattered with grease. You just kind of make it throughout the day. So that's one thing I try to think ahead. If, what am I going to have for supper tonight? Okay, do I need to throw a roast in the crock pot? Do I need to do the Instant Pot? Whatever. There's so many options online to look into for ideas. And if you start looking at reels, you're going to find that those reels are going to pop up. And I have gotten so many ideas from reels. In fact, the potato chicken thing we made Sunday, it was from a reel I saw. So, and that was just, the only expensive thing was garlic parmesan dressing from Buffalo Wild Wings in the jar. That's the only extra ingredient we bought. It was just potatoes, chicken, and that. That was it. And it made a pretty filling meal. So shop what's on sale and eat those meals that week. So let's say, and this has happened before, Aldi is having a really big sale on ham. Buy a couple ham, freeze one, and then you'll have ham for later. You can do a lot of things with ham. One of my friends used to chop up ham and make chopped ham sandwiches. I thought it was so good. If turkey's on sale, stock up on a few things of turkey. You can even brown the turkey in the crock pot, same as we do, and put it in bags and have it for meals later. We have several meals like that. And then beef, if beef is on sale, beef is so expensive. One of the things that I really miss, I have not been able to do much of, are beef roasts, because they're so expensive. In the past, I have bought a fourth of a cow, I have bought a half of a cow, and then that is so nice because you have ground beef, you have steaks, you have rump roasts. You can just throw one in the crock pot in the morning. You can cook it all night to have a really tender one. You can do beef and noodles from that. There's so many things you can do. So yeah, that would be another frugal thing. Save up and buy a half a cow. I think now that's about $800. So maybe you get a fourth cow. And that'll last, our family, it would last a month or two. It might be a little cheaper in the long run, but I don't buy beef very often. I buy a roll of ground beef and we'll do tacos once a week. But I don't buy more than one roll. We have one roll of beef per week. We do a lot of chicken. We do a lot of turkey. Those are the main meats that we do. I'll do shrimp. We'll do some kind of chicken and shrimp linguine. A lot of times that's a fast and easy meal. There's a lot of fast and easy meals that you can come up with. And then take advantage of food pantries. We take advantage of food pantries. We do this often. There's no shame in it. It's there for, big families, struggling families, low income families. There's no shame in taking advantage of food pantries. And then also, what are my thoughts on government help when it comes to food? Well, we've been very blessed in the fact that we've only ever had to use it one time when my husband just could not find a job. Back when we started the church 12, 13 years ago. So in almost 23 years of marriage, we've only had to use it for a few months one time. It's there if you are destitute, if your husband lost his job, you have no other option, you have cut corners where you can, you've gotten rid of your internet, you've gotten rid of your cable, you've gotten rid of all the extra foo-foo things, and you just have nothing left for food. I definitely think it's okay. I would just caution you on I've known a lot of families that are lower income where they have no intention of ever getting off. It would be nice, I'm telling you, it would free up $1,200 a month if we didn't have food to provide food for our family. It would free up a huge chunk of my husband's income. But I feel like we chose to have all these children, and God has always provided when it comes to not having government assistance. And I would much rather just whip out my debit card for food rather than my link card for food. And I feel as long as we're able to buy our own food, that's how I want it to stay. You can get by on a limited budget by making all your food at home, by taking advantage of the stuff that is on sale, like I said, and cooking with those meats that week, and by learning simple meals. You can get by doing that. So for us, it's not been something we've had to rely on, and I'm thankful for that. My husband's a very hard worker. He's worked really hard to even go full time at the church. He's worked many, many hours. He still works. He never takes a day off. He works around the clock every single day of the week, putting out content, studying, visiting, soul winning. He's a hard worker, and I'm thankful for that, because it's enabled us to live in a way that we don't have to accept that government help. So I would say just there's a time and a place, but be very, very careful getting too dependent on that, because God gave you all those children and God can provide. Your husband might have to take on 2 jobs. It's just if you're going to be a stay-at-home mom and you're going to provide for a big family, that might be necessary in today's economy, and that's just the truth of it. So what about side jobs when it comes to maintaining the home? Because I know a lot of my listeners, they'll have like an Etsy shop, or they'll provide an online service. What about going out into the workforce? Do I think it's a sin for a married woman to have a job outside the home? Absolutely not. But I do think it can take away from her priority. What is your priority? Is your priority making money, or are you so destitute you have to have a job? There's women in that situation, and if that's you, I'm sorry. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot harder juggling a home life, raising good kids, keeping the home running, all that good stuff while you are working 40 hours a week. That's going to be really tough. It can be done. I've known women who have done it, but it's going to be a lot harder. So just remember, whatever season you're in, though, if you are in the season with all littles and you don't have older ones that help, it might not be profitable for you to have a side gig where you have to pour a lot of time and energy into that, and it's taking your focus off the things that are important. So I never had a side gig ever until Tommy was 12 or 13. So for those 13 years, I focused only on my home and only on my children, and cutting corners for my husband, budgeting, making cheap meals, shopping thrift stores. I even went through a time when I sewed some of my own clothes, which that's not even sometimes cheaper. It's definitely not cheaper than Goodwill or any of the thrift stores nowadays, because material is expensive. Unless you can find like super cheap material at Goodwill or something, it's expensive if you buy it outright. So, but I did go through that, those early years. That's what I focused on. I did coupons. That's how I saved money. I did the CVS game where I was getting free stuff just by clipping coupons and doing the ads and going in and having my extra care bucks roll over. I had almost all of our toiletries I was getting for free. So that was my way of making money. I wasn't making money, but I was saving him money. So it has to turn a profit for me to invest my time. I don't have time to slowly build something up right now. I have to see immediate results. So for me, my piano academy is where it's at for me. I have a skill when it comes to piano, and it's something I've worked on since I was 7. So it's not something that was naturally I've worked for every little bit of what I have. It's not something that just naturally happened for me. I'm not a prodigy. I'm not a musical genius. I've had to work for every little bit that I have. So for me, I'm also a type A personality that I can run a side thing. I'm dependable and faithful. I show up, and it takes a lot for me to have to cancel last minute, or there's something going on if I have to cancel or move a lesson or something. But the nice thing about doing it at home is that I'm flexible and my students are flexible, so we're able to just kind of work around both of our schedules, because I do only teach from home. So since I'm working from home, if I'm there, I'm right outside where the kids are doing school. I can hear them. I can hear what's going on. I know if there's a problem that needs to be addressed. I know if they're goofing off. I know if they're fighting. I know all of that. I'm right there. I'm still running the home from a distance, but I can hear what's going on. And so that's very important to me. Um, Realize that if you do start something, you need to excel at it. You can't just be half-heartedly, especially if people are paying you for a product or a service. You need to excel at it. You need to take it seriously. You know, you do need to show up. You do need to follow through on your commitments. That's very important to me. So before I even started anything, I had to know that my husband fully supported me, that he was behind me. In fact, when I first started working at the academy, he encouraged me to go in and apply because he thought I'll be home in the evenings, and he's like, she's been working hard, homeschooling all day, running the home. This for me is like therapy, like sitting down and teaching piano. I love it. And it's therapy for me. It's like I'm alone with just that student, and I'm teaching him things or her things, and they're grasping it, and it's so fulfilling for me to see students start playing well. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So for me, that's kind of my therapy, and he realized that, and he really pushed me to do it. But if your husband is against it, if it's not a good idea in his mind, follow the leading of your husband. There's going to be a time and place for that eventually, but when you have little kids, it might not be the time. So the husband has to be on board. And then if it gets in the way, it goes. You know, if it gets in the way of you being a good mom, if it gets in the way of you being a kind mom, if it gets in the way of you, maybe you're just stressed out all the time because of it, if it's bringing more stress in your life. Like for me, teaching piano is not very stressful. It's the opposite. It has the opposite effect. I love doing it. It's therapeutic to me. And it doesn't create all this extra stress. So like once I'm done teaching, besides doing invoices and different things like that, I'm done. So I can just put it to the side. It's not like all consuming, you know, just taking over my life, whatever. So, but if you have something that is, maybe you're up till 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning stressing about it, or trying to get the orders done, or trying to sew, or whatever it is, and you're freaking out at the kids and freaking out on your husband, and the house is falling apart, and it's trashed, and it's chaos, and tears and anguish, and you might need to reconsider. Step back, reconsider. Because you're not running your home very well at that point. So, and then just remember the last thing, no other husband gets to decide what you do. I am just shocked at the audacity of some men to think that they get to order other men's wives around. Whether that's from a pulpit, whether that's gossiping, whether that's talking to someone else about it. Can you believe Cassandra? She is just so opinionated, and she's so spunky, and that was my wife. I would never let her speak as soon as she entered the church. Well, guess what? I'm not your wife, so not your place, not your circus, not your monkey. So don't ever let another family, another even, you know, mom dictate to you how you should run your house. Or, you know, I'm just trying to give you some tips to help you run your home more effectively, whether that's you are a morning person, or you're a night owl, or you do your schedule completely different than me. Maybe your big meal today is breakfast, and then it's kind of a free-for-all for dinner. You know, whatever it is, I'm just saying find something that's functioning for your family. Find something where the home is run smoothly and effectively. And remember, you're going to have bad days, and that's okay. I have bad days. We all have bad days. Our kids are going to have bad days, and it doesn't mean that you have a bad life. It means you had a bad day. But if you start having series of bad days, this is kind of where I step back and evaluate. Okay, what's going on? Do I need to step up my training game? You know, do I need to address sin problems? Do I need to start streaming things? You know, the house needs to be run more effectively. What's going on? And then that's kind of when I step back and reevaluate. But one bad day, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay for the house to be a mess one day, but it shouldn't be the norm. You know, your house shouldn't be always trashed. Your house shouldn't always be filthy. It shouldn't be the norm. The new normal is not a good new normal. So don't go along with the philosophy where you can stop trying, you don't have to try. You know, mediocrity is greatness. No, it's really not. So we should all be striving as moms and wives to be better moms and be better wives and have things run more efficiently in the home. And I'm striving to do that every day of my life. So I hope you will too, and I hope you all have a great week this week, and I hope that you have many blessings. We had a couple major things break down today, so I'm just still trying to keep a smile on my face and wait for the third thing to break down because it always comes in threes. But it's just a bad day for that. It doesn't mean I have a bad life. Things are always okay. God always comes through, and it'll be the same for you too. Stay close to God, stay close to your husband, stay close to your kids, and we will see you next week.